We have a special guest, Josh Manning, today. But before that, let me introduce my co-host over here, the Canadian Chuck Norris. That would be Rich Guido. And
And the Bill Armstrong with a new PB since the last time we talked.
that's right.
We'll
That's
talk.
right. Very
We'll talk
excited
about
about
that
that.
more.
We might talk about that too, but it's
Maybe
nothing
one of our
compared to Josh.
PBs. Yeah, none of our PBs compared to Josh. Though.
No,
Number
I
two.
don't even know if my eighth mile is quite as fast as his quarter. It's pretty impressive over there. So hi Josh, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, Rich, what do you want to start off with? Do we want to talk about kind of what we've been up to before we rope
Yeah,
Josh into
well,
all this nonsense?
yeah. Why don't we? Well, sure. Why don't we talk about your PB first? Because you've had a couple years where between valve train and just typical small block Ford problems.
Easy.
Well, maybe not, but with some issues. But you made some progress lately.
I have. Yeah, so on the valve train standpoint, I worked with one of our guests actually, Stefan Rossi, and he hooked me up with his valve train guy, and I got an email with a whole bunch of questions that it's baffling to me that everyone doesn't ask when they're specking out cam and valve train because they ask for the weight of the intake valve, weight of the exhaust valve, bunch of different measurements. And then based on that, I believe they choose the valve springs based on harmonics from those numbers. And the valve spring package I got, like, I opened it and I laughed. I was like, oh, those are cute. And I called Stefan back. I'm like, are you serious? Is this these little tiny springs? And he goes, oh, yeah, by the way, don't run the inners. I'm like, what? And they're little tiny, like literally 1.33 OD springs. And I don't even run the inner ones. And they're like 140 pounds on the seat. It's good to like 7,500 RPM. And I have probably put 10,000 miles on it this summer alone. And every time I check them, nothing. Like nothing's moved, nothing's worn out. It's amazing. And I'm on the Rich Guido solid roller cam profile or program because I'm lashing it at 3 to 4 thousandths cold. So it sounds like a hydraulic. It's dead quiet, but part of the thought process there is if anything starts to move, you're going to hear it. So that's nice. But it's also just way less wear and tear and not as violent on stuff and still makes power and revs like crazy. So it seems to be all good.
Yeah, and when you drive for 1,000 miles in a day, stuff gets a little like you're going to have some lash in there, right? If you
Correct.
started at 16, I don't think you want to know what it is 3 hours down the road, but
22 probably.
yeah,
And
yeah,
just like you, when I check it, I if the fourth thou is relatively tight, we're good. If it's loose, then I try an eighth thou, and if that doesn't go in, we're good, and I don't touch it. As long as it's in that 4 to 8, we're in pretty good shape there. So that's what I've been doing there, and then I
what's your new
struggled a
PB?
bit. Went 865. Was it last night or night before? Yeah. And I had a cracked boost tube, so it only trapped 161. So I'd like to think there's probably a 7 hiding in there if I could get all the boost
Oh
tube
yeah,
numbers.
it's for sure a 7 second pass.
But yeah, and I've made a couple of significant changes. We changed the Caltrack setup in the back, and Tony Pelotano and I, from Tony and Tess, we had a conversation, a few of them about that. So I took some of his advice and moved the Caltrack setting around, which helped. And then perhaps the biggest one is I made the change over to an adjustable clutch. I still have the clutch controller on it because it's still hydraulic, and I can utilize that to control the engagement of the clutch if I don't want to loosen it up from street. But right now I'm just experimenting with the slipper clutch to see how we do, and I've also put a radial on it at the same time. So a lot of changes, but right out of the gate, like everything went well.
And what was your 60?
Uh, let's see. Last night it did a was it a 135, 136?
Right
Let me
in
look at
there,
the
yeah.
time slip. Yeah, and then I did have one where he sheared the U-bolts off the drive shaft. And on that pass, the draggy said it was a 134. Now, I've got some crap because I didn't pick up an actual time slip, but
Yeah, it doesn't count if you don't have the time.
so it is in the 130s, and it's been repeating that and working pretty well. I'm pretty pleased so far. So
Awesome.
yeah. So that's what's up right now.
Well, we don't have to talk about all my carnage. I've just been breaking a lot of shit. So, um, well, if we've got some time at the end, I can fill in some stories there. But let's go over to Josh. So, Josh, you are currently number 2 behind Nick Coleman, right? Like, how close? What's your best time?
My best was 6:55. That Nick went a 49.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. At what mile an hour?
2:18.
Whew.
Yeah, that's
Man.
moving.
That is ridiculous. That's awesome.
So
Excellent.
tell us about the car and then the combo, and then we'll get into some fun transmission and clutch questions.
Okay. Well, it's a 2009 C6 Z06. The car actually had 30,000 miles when we chopped it up. The fab shop at Top End, Jason Harvey, called me like 4 different times in like 3 different weeks. He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Cut the damn thing up." Backstory, real quick: it was a street car, twin turbo. I was driving on the street, and I'd made a full hit on the interstate, ran into some traffic, and sat in dead stop. So it kind of overheated, burnt the injector wiring, and all that stuff. So I was already sick and tired of working on the clutch as an IRS and all of that. So I was like, let's cut it out. Sean Madden had his car at the time on YouTube, and I was like, I love that idea. I'm full link in mine. Called him, he gave me the details, and that was history.
And
Um,
Josh, do me a favor, just maybe sneak up on that phone a little more because the audio's, I think it could be a little better.
okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So the present state, twin turbo, 88 millimeter MLX turbos, bullseye, Noonan 427 billet block. It's on methanol. TIC Performance and PPG gear set T56, JB clutches, and then a 9-inch rear.
Who did the motor for you?
So TKM does the motor work. I build the motor and do everything here at the house myself.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
dive into yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and a couple of things. It gives you the satisfaction when you build it yourself, but you're not in any rush either. Like, you're not trying to make money on it or do anything, so you could take all the time you need and be as meticulous as you want when you build your own. I'm guessing that's why you do it.
Yeah, ultimately that was the biggest thing. I've always been fascinated with it, to understand how something works. So I just kind of anything I've done my whole life, I've just dabbled and figured it out. And then a lot of it was cost. Like I couldn't pay someone over and over and over to do all this stuff. If I was to pay someone to build this car at this caliber outside of the fabrication work, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what dive into some of the parts, like what heads are on it?
Um, well, when I did that 655 pass, I just had some Trick Flow Tony Mamo 260 NA heads on it. So not bad. Now I've got the mass black label heads.
Mm.
So Robbie at TKM, we kind of redid all the valve train and all that to make those work. So the trick flows were an LS7 setup. So right before the reunion race this year, I swapped everything to an LS3 due to availability. So now it's an
Mm.
LS3 head, but it's still the big bore.
Yeah,
So what is it?
yeah.
Where do the heads flow? Do you
Um,
know?
well, according to their website, I think it's a little over 400 at like 700, but I'm not certain.
And how much boost are you shoving through that cylinder head?
I command 35, and depending on the air, it's seen 37 before. But that
Damn.
655 pass was just shy of 37 last November.
Nice. And I'm assuming these are, well, you did say dry deck, I think,
Yep.
and fire ringed, I'm sure.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Just like a diesel, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Awesome.
But that 37 pounds was with the old heads that probably didn't flow what the new heads flow. Is that right?
Correct. I've only seen 33 and 34 on the new heads.
Yeah, I mean, boost is only relative to the head flow. So I mean, if those are flowing over 400, you're pushing 37 through. Oof,
Yeah.
that's
Well, and if you had 37 and now you're seeing 34 with the new head, then it's more efficient.
Yeah.
Because boost is really just a measure of back pressure, right? Not back pressure, I would say, but just restriction to flow. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a
Restriction.
better-
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
so two sets of injectors.
I do. I run FIC 1600 for fire up and idle, and then I transition to billet atomizer 700s. So they're pretty much all I use going down the track, the big ones. And then I'm actually dabbling. I'm just running the big set right now. I think it was actually something Ben stated or something. I heard someone talking about recently about two sets of injectors. If one of them was to go lean or quit working, it made the whole motor go lean. So it kind of got me thinking. So now I'm just going to run just the big set, and I'll have a backup
Yeah.
set probably.
yeah, 'cause
Simpler is better for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Ben's point was if you have two injectors fueling the motor, one set goes down, you'll go lean and burn a hole. But if you have one set and something goes wrong, it just doesn't have fuel and you're not going to
Yeah,
hurt
it
it.
just cuts off. So
Yeah, and that makes sense. Then you're only on 7 cylinders or 6 or whatever instead of, I don't know, 7.5, and then that piston
Yeah.
is just flaming out.
not happy.
No, no,
happy.
not at all.
And you have a JB clutch in yours, so that his clutches aren't wildly known yet. I know he's just getting started. A couple 3 years, is that about how long he's been making clutches?
I don't know his full background. I think he's been around clutches for a long time. But Joel Steele and Jonathan Atkins were the first ones to kind of use his stuff a couple years ago. And last year at August, I met him in person at the Wisconsin race, and I was running the advanced clutch from Rob. Great clutch, had nothing but good out of it. I just wanted to do a few different things, try some different stuff, just to see from my own data point what it would do. So I talked to him, and he's like, "I'll make whatever you want." And so I put it in at FL2K, and we went out and did a 667 right off the trailer, like that day with the new setup. So I was like, that's pretty promising, from there. So.
What
Yeah, that is
yeah, talk about that clutch a little. Is it a twin 8-inch, single disc, twin? Like, what is it?
Yep. So I run the twin 8-inch, and much like Jonathan's, we still were running the QuickTime bell housing, so we were limited on space. So in a perfect world, I would have a triple disc. I just didn't have the real estate for it. So we're still rocking the twin 8-inch setup. I just tried actually yesterday a couple different materials that I had made, not through him, but separately. I was trying my own stuff. Again, I love data, and did not net so well. If it was in a triple, I think it would be perfect, but I'll stick to the 5135 for now.
Hey,
And are you
Bill,
running
that sounds
the-
familiar. Hey, want to talk about what happens? What happens when you was it a 5191 or?
So it was
No.
a hybrid. I don't have a number per se, but I do know it was 20% more aggressive than a 5191.
Oh, okay. So somewhere between a 5191 and a 5135.
Yeah, but I can't put a number to it.
Nice. Yeah, and I know the 5135 has different dash numbers, like a 4-1, which is what I run. I think that's what Rich runs. and I think that's from Ace, if that's an Ace disc. Different manufacturers have different numbers, but yeah. And do you mind saying who those other discs were, the ones that you tried?
The material was a Bonafonte. It was
Uh,
something more than like the Top Fuel teams use. I just kind of it's on a hookup that I got it and tried it. I think it could work. It would just need a lot more weight than what I guessed at.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, interesting.
yeah. I've tried a 5191, barely got home.
Yeah.
5130 or a 4-1 or a 5135. Yeah, that's what I would end up with, and I think Bill's got some experience.
Oh
I
man.
think he had 4-1 and had a 5191, and he's complaining to me this thing's
No, no.
on the street.
It was a 50-50 actually was the disc I had in there.
Oh, really?
So when I first put this clutch in, so it's a 10-inch and I have a bunch of 10.5-inch discs. So my co-pilot, who's a machinist, he made a fixture and we cut these discs down from 10.5 to 10-inch. It's all good. Well, I cut the wrong ones down and I had some 50-50 discs and I didn't pay attention. Threw that in. First time with this clutch, I had no idea. Proceeded then to drive, because my local track Bannermere is closed. Proceeded to drive 250 miles to Douglas, Wyoming to test, right? And this thing is slipping going down the highway, pulling the trailer, like if I'm trying to pass. And I'm calling Rich, I'm like, is this normal? Because I've never had one of these. He goes, no, that's not normal. And so I proceeded to go there. We turned the car over. I didn't even make a 300-foot pass. It wouldn't even. It just blew through the clutch in third gear. I was like, let's pack it up and head back. And the same thing. I wasn't sure I was gonna make it home, and that's when we realized it was the wrong disc. Yeah, so 500
So
miles for a hit I could have made on the street or in my driveway to realize it wasn't gonna work.
yeah, funny. Who made the 50-50s?
It's Ace. I've been really, really happy with the Ace discs just because they last so long.
Yeah.
I've had some Bonafontes before, but they work well. They wear out really fast. And with the
Okay.
amount of street driving that I do, the Ace discs seem to work the best for me.
Okay. Have you tried a different variation of 5135? I've only ever tried the same dashboard ones or whatever, but I was curious.
I haven't. I haven't. And so far with the data that I've seen, it's working really well. Like, I mean, clearly the car is at a personal best. So,
Yeah.
granted, it's only 500ths faster than my previous personal best, but that was like 3+ years ago. And we've changed up the clutch program a couple of different times, and yeah, it just wasn't working as well as it could have. So, just gonna try this out and see where we're at. So,
Yeah, I know that Kale's got I would say his special 4-1 mix, and Ben and we've talked about it on the podcast before, where it definitely is in batches. Like even Clay Milliken says they'll buy 20 of the same batch so that they can be consistent, because they mixing them on a Friday night or they're mixing them on a Tuesday, you might not get exactly the same compound. So
yeah, and
it is one of those things where you decide to, I'm just going to throw a fresh disc in before you go on an event, and then realize that your clutch settings have all changed because the disc material's just slightly different. And
yeah, and they talk about the bell, and I think they stack them up and thing, and they put this, probably looks like a giant bell in the oven to bake them, and it depends where they are in the bell. I used to do some ceramics in college, and I know that in different places of the kiln, there were certain glazes that would work in oxidation or no oxygen, and depending on where it was at the kiln, sometimes you get a mix of both because air would leak in. So I would guess the same type of thing happens when they fire those things up in the bell, quote unquote, that some of them just turn out a little different. So who knows?
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
That actually, it's hit me in the butt at 2 different races. Like something happened, I'd be testing, trying to be squared away and set up for success. And like I'd chip a disc or something, so I end up inevitably brand new discs at the race, and then make a little bit of a swing, not enough, you know. So it's I seem to always bring it together the very last round of qualifying.
Well,
Yeah,
as long
and
as you're
so
winning.
Yeah. So
so the young blood was a twin eight, and the JB is also a twin eight. They're both.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
they both are. Yeah.
And how different, like if you put those two clutches side by side on a bench, are they totally different looking or are they very similar?
Looking, there's some similarities, but there's a lot of details in the JB that make it nice. You know, for example, to reset my ring height every pass, I can do it in the car through the little inspection window. He's got little
Mm.
measurement things cut out. You put little scissor calipers, you know, up in there, and you can actually measure. Hey, I had 10 thousandths wear this time, or you know, whatever, and you can zero it in the car, and it takes about 5 minutes. As opposed to what I had to do before was slide the transmission out and kind of do it that way with the dial indicator. So it's pretty nice, you know, little stuff like that. I'm trying to think. There's a few little things, but I think the biggest thing is like I wanted different yokes, I wanted different fingers, change the ratios a little bit, stuff like that. So like he's been pretty accommodating. Of hell, even hey, I want a slightly different floater material. Why? I don't know because I want the data. Hey, I want one cutter on this set, two on one, three on the other. Why? Because I'm seeing a pattern on some stuff, you know, kind of thing. So like I'm starting to accumulate like a pro stock team. Like I've got a shelf full of clutches and a shelf full of floaters, and I change it, you know, for what I want. So
Have you played with
Interesting.
different fingers much too?
yeah, I played with those a little bit. Even shimming them different, kind of coming in and staging them a little bit, just playing different stuff, trying to make it more and less aggressive. And then another thing is, we're like most teams, they'll take them out and you know, cut to a fresh disc, you know, every run. I've been coming back after say we get 4, 5, 6, you know, pretty good runs, and I come back and I remeasure the Rockwell hardness and see, hey, it changed this much, and I kind of keep track on the spreadsheet of how much it changes my tune-up. So in that, when I do have to put a fresh disc in, I've become a lot closer in my starting point.
Hmm.
Wow. So you're measuring the Rockwell of the disc after each pass.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing with the heat, it's
not
getting
each
harder.
pass, but each event.
Each time
Okay.
you take it out.
So, or if something happens and I do got to pull them out, you know, so like last night, for example, at my local track, like it didn't hurt those discs. I just blew through it. Luckily, it was first gear. You know, it just went straight to the rev limit, so it didn't hurt them. If anything, it was a second heat cycle. But I measured the Rockwell, and they changed about 2.5 numbers, so not enough to matter yet. I don't think. From what I've been researching, it takes about 10 to really see a swing. But from a set of discs that get 2 or 3 runs to 15 runs, then that Rockwell gets a lot harder on the 5135s, and it changes the amount of counterweight that you need, at least in my
So,
setup.
so, so when it gets harder, does the coefficient of friction go up? I mean, are you adding weight or reducing weight when it's harder?
So this is all solely my own data information kind of thing on this statement. So my understanding is if I was cutting them fresh and it was a harder Rockwell, it would be a more aggressive coefficient. But say,
Mm.
for example, the 5135s, when the number goes up, it glazes over, I have to add more weight,
Yeah,
if
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense. So it goes against the initial statement, what should be. So if I was, you know, had a clutch grinder and I was cutting them fresh every time, maybe that part would stand true. But what I have noticed, as I end up glazing them, I got to add a little bit more.
Yeah,
So in that thought, then the coefficient is actually going down. But if it was ground, it would be higher because it would be more aggressive.
you get fresh meat almost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, fresh surface, fresh everything.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So this sounds like it takes a lot of time. What the heck do you do for work? Like when you're not racing?
Um, well, I spent most of my time in the military, and then now I just work for the U.S. So I still leave town a lot, but when I'm home, kind of thing. So I do spend a lot of time when my wife's at work, the kids are at school. I'm down in the shop playing, kind of thing. So,
Nice.
like I got this car back 2.5 weeks ago from the fab shop, and I had it wired, put the motor together, got it in, and went testing in 2.5 weeks. So that was my full time job when I was home, just working on the car.
So don't you have a new baby? Did you guys just have another child, Josh? Oh, did we lose him?
We're having technical difficulties. Can you hear us, Josh? Oh, he dropped off. He's gonna come back. I think so. But you saw that he had a baby? Did he post about that or something?
I thought they had, just a fresh one. But
okay,
we'll find out when he comes back.
Yeah, I think so. He's still showing on the screen. Maybe I can kick him out and then he'll have to log back in. Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah, and so I'll give my little story while we're waiting. But I've had. I went to meet Sean Umshide, the What in Away guy, and dropped some parts off and broke a wheelwood hub. Got a tow truck ride home then, and then I went to the racetrack. And on the way home, broke a pin in the transmission in the T56. I'm sure Josh has got the PPG billet version like I do now. And then and at the track, it backfired and made like 35 pounds of boost, which, for Josh is normal, but for me is about 10 to 12 pounds more than I'm running. And it blew out the diffuser in the intake and then took a chunk out of it. And thankfully, I was just cruising to work in the car, and all of a sudden, one spark plug didn't want to work anymore when it got hit with a piece of aluminum. So thankfully, I was able to just limp it home that time, so I didn't need a tow truck. But so I'm hoping things come in threes, and that was number 3. And this Sunday, or a week today, I'll go back and test and see if I can put a little bit more spread between you, Bill, and me. But we'll see. Anyway, so let's fill in the gap there, Josh. You're back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was sitting there talking away, and there was no facial expression change from either one of you, and that's when I realized it was frozen.
So we asked, Rich asked if you guys just had a new baby.
Yes, she is 7 weeks old.
That's a fresh one. Yeah.
Quite fresh. New experience. When she was 3.5 weeks, we actually had her at Bristol at a PDR race. I was hanging out with Bill Devon, hanging out with him, so we took her for the road trip there. So trying to, just put her off in the deep end, right into the world, of racing. So
excellent. So you said 7 weeks?
7 weeks, yeah.
And
8 weeks.
2 of the weeks were spent putting that car back together. I don't know. You're pretty lucky, Josh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
yes,
it's a blessing. So.
Is this your first one?
It's my first, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats for sure.
Thank you. So I'm married into 3 kids, and her youngest, we're the closest because she was 2. But it's definitely different experiencing it from this level to now too. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I want to back you up to the motor. Is the motor got any coolant in it or water in it?
No, it's a solid filled Newton block, and then we dry deck the heads.
Yeah. And so is there water just flow through the heads then? That's nothing at all.
Just methanol.
Just methanol. That keeps it pretty cool.
Yeah, it does a pretty good job.
Do you have any kind of a temp sensor on it at all? Like a cylinder head temp gauge or something?
I do, and the Mad Racer makes a dry deck CTS coolant, so it uses GM scaling, and it actually never gets over like 140 at the end of a pass. It starts at about 100. I try to warm it up and have it about 100. I keep my oil about 100 when I start off, and the oils doesn't really change much, but yeah, out the back it's not much. I just recently started running a intake air temp, but I hadn't made a full pass since I added that back on the new setup, so I don't know what the numbers are. But air intake.
What would you
Yeah.
estimate? So you don't run an intercooler because you got methanol. So maybe
Well,
we take
a lot of the other,
guesses here.
yeah, a lot of the other cars that I've shared data logs with and see that run very similar setups, they see 300 degrees.
Okay, I was gonna guess 400, but we
Yeah,
gotta turn it
no,
up a
they
little
seem
more.
to be they seem to be low threes. But yeah, they're also more aggressive. They're pushing 55, psi in an LS. So
Yeah.
Wow,
they're
wow.
really getting it after it. My EPTs stay in 1175, 1150,
Jeez.
kind of thing. So I chase a very fat and happy plug. Like it barely turns like a quarter of the top cadmium ring, and I barely have a timing mark. I'm not purposely pushing for records. I'm just making the motor last. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Um, I'll share
So
this with you guys. I was going to say this. I've had the same power management tune from the Wisconsin race to that 655 fast. The same boost curve, the same timing retard. The only changes were clutch and four link and suspension, shock settings. Just kind of learning that, making changes, go faster, go slower. So that was the best way to learn all of that stuff was just, I set it and forget it and kind of just learn the car.
so
That's
what
awesome.
gears do you have in the car? What ring and pinion?
So I run anywhere from a 3.0 to a 390 rear gear. So I'll just swap out the center section.
Did you say a
Um,
3.0 to a 390?
yes, sir.
Wow, that's a pretty big change.
Yep.
It,
Well,
is,
it was all data, kind of where I was chasing, everything. Um, right now, like going to like the races, I'll float from a 325 to a 340. Just gives me a little cushion to not just strike the tire. But the 390 was a mispurchase. It was labeled wrong, and I put it in,
Mm.
and it kept spinning a lot, and then we made it work. And then when I took them out, I read the part number on it and realized, dang, I had a 390 in it.
So
and what's
talk
your first
about
gear?
yep,
What
yeah.
What's the first gear in your transmission?
So one of my PPG gear sets is a 247 straight cut, and the other one is a 214.
Wow. So what is second gear then?
Um, I'd have to pull the notes up. I don't remember. Um, let's see. I might have them
Wow, a
now that since
214.
my speaker didn't work.
I think a 214 would work great with a 390.
Yeah, it actually does pretty well.
Yeah,
What kind
it
of
is
60
interesting.
foots? Yeah.
It is
Um,
interesting how that long first gear and a slipper clutch actually work really well together. Hey.
oh yeah, I was still getting. Here's the gear sets real quick. So the 247 second gear is a 163. The second gear on the 214 is a 156. So I
Hmm.
go from a 34% drop to a 27% drop.
Hmm. And what kind of 60 foots are you seeing, like in the ballpark? What are you at?
Yeah, so I do on the 47s, I do 105s, 106s, pretty consistent. And I do 109 to a 111 on the 214. But I have to hit it
Okay.
with like a lot more power.
And the clutch takes more of a beating.
Well, I just mathematically, account for, the difference in the drivetrain, so I know how much applied force I have, on the clutch multiplied by the gear ratios divided by the radius of the tire. And so I know that number, and then I just add that much. So typically it's about, I don't know, just shy of a half more base is enough to account for the difference and still lock up the same RPM wise that I want.
Huh?
Hmm.
Or sometimes I'll just hit it with like 300 more RPM on the lead, and it's about the same.
Yeah.
So what RPM are you leaving at, and what boost level are you leaving at?
I leave anywhere from, it's kind of a window, 4,500 to 5,500. When I'm at 4,500, I'm normally 8 or 9 pounds. When I'm at 55, I'm leaving at 18 and 20.
All based just on track, how
Yep,
good the track is. Yeah.
yep, yep. So I started just trying to again, just gather more data. So I bought one of the track meters, a couple years ago. Started going around with people I was hanging out with, seeing how they were utilizing it, and slowly getting a database, with my setup. And then I just started punching in a spreadsheet, and I'm like, hey, I got this gear set in the car, this ratio. What do I need to be at? And I try to just I use that as a ballpark. I don't use it as like a rule book, and I try to start off like 15% lighter than that. It just kind of keeps it safe.
This all sounds pretty nerdy, and I love it.
Yeah. No, but well, like it's funny, So most people that know me, they see me at the track. Rich can attest to this. I'm always covered in clutch dust. I do mostly everything myself. I don't eat, sleep. I'm just killing myself. So I look like a dirty knuckle dragger all the time. Being a big gun guy and all this stuff. But I actually went to school for software engineering. So at any point I could stop and do that stuff. So I use that nerd side all the time for this stuff, and I love it. That's kind of how
That's
I learned
awesome.
most of it. It's just trial and error, and I'm a very pattern-oriented person.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's interesting. When we had Nick on here, it was the same thing. When you see 1320 videos of Nick, like he's thrashing, right? He's like 30
Yeah.
hands, he's full on. And we had him on the podcast, same experiences we're having with you, where it's like, oh man, like on top of everything, very detailed. Like you don't get to the level you and Nick are at without being that detailed. But I noticed when you held up your hand that it was dirty. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, well that's good. That's how most of us are, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we can get dressed up if we have to, but.
Yep.
So I have a question for both of you about that. Because I don't think I'm an isolated one here. Do you guys keep Scotch-Brite in the shower to get your hands clean?
So I actually just started dabbling with a combination of Gojo and Dawn soap, and I'll put them both on fresh and then just like scrub, and it does really good. And then when I get in the shower, the Target brand, just whatever their cheapest, like all 3-in-1 body wash. When I put that on my hands, you just see more and more black hit the shower floor. Like it's crazy how well that works. So it's terrible for my skin, I'm certain, but it gets it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no Scotch-Brite, but I do have a few different articles to help scrub, for sure.
Yeah. I will say one of the ones I found that works the best out of anything, and it's good to my skin, is this stuff made out of like pine trees. It's like this powder, and it's like a pine stuff, and it cleans better than anything I've used, and it doesn't dry my hands out. So that's
Is it like
Bill's
a
beauty
resin?
tip for the day.
Is it like a resin?
Let me grab it real quick. Hold on. Let me see.
Hey Josh, what does your car weigh, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, it's about 2,700 with me in it.
Oh, so it's not super light.
It's not super light. A lot of people think that it is, but no, it's not. So
Yeah,
So
I think eventually.
yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
So this stuff is called Pine-Rite. You can't really see it. It's all worn off here. So that's
Yeah.
one version, and then there's another one made by Beso, BESO, and it's similar stuff, but it says made in Colorado with all natural ingredients, but it's like made out of pine tree stuff, and it's amazing. So if you can get that, or maybe I'll send it to you for Christmas, Josh. Just send me your address.
yeah, that'll be cool. I'll try anything. My wife would appreciate it.
Yes, it'll be on her behalf. That I'll send it to
she'll
you.
love it. She's like, who is this well dapper gentleman?
Wow, I'm gonna loop that right there.
Yeah.
So I missed it. Did you say your car weighs 2,700 pounds? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
That's with you in it.
Yep.
Only 1,000 pounds lighter than my car.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have any water. Like it's full on race, so
True,
27's pretty
true.
heavy. Like, I think
Yeah, it's definitely on the heavy side. My car still has the full frame rails front to back with the VIN number stamped in it. So One of the guys cut part of it out, and I think they said it was 200 pounds just in the rear half of that alone. So,
Wow.
so there's weight to be had and cut out, but
What so what kind of power are you making? I mean, to be trapping 200 plus.
well, I've got, according to ET, mile an hour. That pass was a little over 2,200 to the tire, and that's the Wallace calculator.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then some, if y'all remember Ben's podcasts, I don't know, a year ago or whatever, I was catching up on those, and he was sharing his uh, airflow numbers and calculating horsepower that way instead of via fuel. So I did all of those on a spreadsheet, and the air density, all of it. And those were anywhere from 24 to 2,500 via air and 26 via fuel.
Hmm.
So I'd say those seem all relatively real numbers, so call it out of all of those rounded about 2,500.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
awesome. Yeah, that's impressive. And how
And you're
big
on
was the
a
motor? Sorry. How many?
It's a 427.
427. You hear that, Rich? That's a magic number.
Yeah. And I actually shipped it pretty high. I think that's why Ben likes it, kind of thing. I shipped anywhere from 9,400.
Do you know what kind of spring pressure you have on yours?
A lot more than Phil. um, I have a note on my phone with all that stuff when we measured every day. I want to say it's probably like 1150, 1175. Sounds about
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
And whose
Yeah, a
whose
lot
cam
different.
program are you running? Sorry.
Kevin actually spec my cam from TKM, but it's pretty certain it's a cam motion.
Nice.
Pretty sure I haven't seen the box in over a year, so I don't remember exactly.
That's a good sign. That's a good
Yeah,
sign when you. Yeah, it is nice when you could keep a bunch of the same parts and then you're just tweaking from there. Sometimes it takes a long time to get there, but like you said, if you can keep your tune the same and then go ahead and just start tweaking the other stuff, that sure makes for a lot more consistency.
one thing I tried to do to sort of stay ahead of it, even though like I built it for a lot more power than what's been put through it and the abuse, but mainly I just wanted the reliability of it. But on that, if I ever miss a gear, miss the clutch, and I zing to the rev limiter in first gear or whatnot, I'll drop the oil pan, drain the oil, I'll torque the rods. If I do it a couple times at a full race, I'll come back and pull the bearings and look at them. And then I try to pretty much, I mean, I only had all of last year, but I went ahead and just replaced the rods, put all new rods, bearings, and rings in it. Just kind of preventative maintenance, just trying to stay ahead of it, swap the valve springs out. And then I just modified on the head valve spring tool. So every time I check the lash, I can check my valves and see if I start to get any percentage change. So I'm going to start keeping up with that this year too. So I just started that.
So, Josh, this aluminum rod motor,
It is. Yeah,
yeah,
GRP.
nice. I think they make those in Colorado too.
Oh, that's cool.
They make all the good stuff here. Hand cleaner and connecting rods.
Yeah. Where in Colorado are you?
I live in Evergreen, so about, depending on traffic, 30 minutes to an hour west of Denver.
Okay.
So I'm at
Okay.
8,000 feet. We don't have snow yet, but fall is creeping up on us. And those trees are starting to change right now. It's kind of pretty.
Yeah. No,
And the elk were bugling today. They were right outside.
that's
Oh,
awesome.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
I had a great big buck taking a leak in the lawn right outside my outside the garage. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like 10 feet away from me. He just looked at me like, "Yeah, whatever." Big 4-point buck right downtown Red Deer.
You didn't choke them
Um,
out, Rich?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to. I didn't want to be on one of those videos. So let's talk about your a couple of your strategies. So when you stage the car, is your two-step on a button or is your two-step on the clutch pedal?
Mine is on the clutch pedal. I use I get it from like Quartermax. It's just like a little arm swing with a roller tip on the end.
Yep.
So that's what I use, and I try to set it to turn off. Actually, Kale was on y'all's podcast, and I heard him talking about when y'all question it. So I started doing that back then. But I got tired of chasing that, with the hydraulic and a little bit of clutch wear. I couldn't get that consistent every time. So now I have my two-step also on until my car sees like 25 RPM on the drive shaft. So it's just a second thing. So instead of it getting I know some people talk about getting a run at it. My car, if I let it get a run at it, it blows the tires off every time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is why I can go higher in RPM, but I let it hold essentially it's like a tenth of a second that it holds the two-step once the car loads the suspension. I have a laser on my rear end sensor, and I can see it like hit the turn. It drops about 1 inch, and then the two-step comes off, and then the car's, it's planted and it goes. So that sort of works for me.
And do you have a brake pressure sensor?
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
So my line lock is on a button for like my burnout, but when I stage the car, when I turn my traction control button on, and it also activates my data log. When that condition is met, my clutch pedal, when the switch is in, it activates the two-step and the line lock. So when I roll up to the stage, my line lock won't activate until it sees above 500 psi of brake pressure. So once I roll up and I hit the first beam, I stab the brake, it splashes past 500, it's pulse width modulated, it drops down, so it normally ends up anywhere from 490 to 515, somewhere right in there to kind of hover, but it's very consistent right at 500, and then I just roll into the second bulb.
What ECU are you running?
I run a Holley Dominator.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I like that tactic on the line lock though. So it PWMs it down to that range of brake pressure. So when you blast the pedal, you might see 1200, but then it just brings it down to that 500.
Yep.
And
so when I built, keep going.
So I'm just curious, why is that important?
Consistency.
Okay.
So when you go to bump in, you're not burning the clutch like at 1200, but also it allows you just to kind of inch forward and not jump too far. While you're qualifying, you just want to be shallow, and when you're racing, you want to kind of be deep. And if your brake pressure is not consistent, then it's harder to do. It's just harder to be consistent.
Yep. And the second thing, besides just the consistency, is also consistency of the temperature of the clutch. So like when I do my burnout, I clutch it and I roll to a stop. I only want to engage the clutch like one time to back up instead of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. My last bell housing actually had an infrared sensor on it, and I could actually watch the temperature change in different strategies. And my new bell housing, I don't have one in it because I'm just doing it the same, so I don't care anymore now. But if I would have more brake pressure or less, I would see a difference in how much it was heating up the clutch, just dragging in that hard. So that was another major factor. And then 5135, the hotter it is, the more aggressive it is.
Yeah, that's some really good information. I actually do track clutch temperature on mine, and I kind of know a ballpark of where I want to see it when we pull up. When you were tracking it, was there like a temperature you wanted to see at the line, ideally?
So typically, I would always see no less than the heat soak. So it'd be roughly after a burnout back up, right before staging, I might see anywhere from 110 to 115, sometimes 120. And if I would slip it more than that, I might start to see upwards of 150, 160. But doing latter of how I said, the minimizing using the clutch, I could keep it on average below 130 kind of thing. So
Mm.
what temperatures are you seeing normally?
Yeah, so it's interesting we're having this conversation because the other night when we tested, so I like to see it around 120 to 130 seems to be where
Okay.
it's good. The other night we did back-to-back runs, and the second pass, the clutch was 200 something degrees, and I didn't really think about it, but it knocked the tire off immediately. Now, granted, we added a little bit more boost, but thinking about it now, it's probably because the clutch was so hot that it didn't slip at all. It just knocked the tire off immediately.
Yeah.
And I use a leaf blower, that has like a 45-degree fitting, and my bell housing, the QuickTime, has a huge opening in it for the clutch fork if you're using it and all that. And now that this clutch is all aluminum, man, it cools down fast. Like we go
Yeah.
back to the pits, we put that blower on it, and it'll drop temperature really quick. So
What I started doing at the end of the track after I pick the parachute up, while I'm going back, I keep my foot pushed in, so just the natural air is getting through there.
mhm.
Um, and then as soon as I get to the pits, they get the front end off. I'll put a kind of what an alignment shelf would use to hold the steering wheel. Kind of there, you set the brake pedal on that. I put that on the clutch pedal and against the seat to keep it open. And then when I put my fan in there, it cools between the discs and everything pretty
That's
well.
what
So
I
it kind of sped it up too.
Yeah, I've shared that with a few people too. That it just makes good sense to open it up rather than.
Yeah.
So I have the same thing. Yeah, I get a stick and shove it in there, jam it on the seat, and I don't have a temperature
Same.
indication, but
Same.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I'd be willing to bet if you go test it again, you could leave the extra boost in there if the track condition is the same, and if anything, it should slip the clutch a little more. So I bet
Well,
your heat,
what's interesting,
your enemy
yeah,
is
so
there.
we went from 9 pounds to 11 pounds on the hit and it knocked the tire off. And then I was like, I think maybe because the clutch was hot. So we cooled it down and put 10 pounds in it. And that was where I made the personal best. But I think you're right. I bet it would take 11, maybe 12 if the clutch wasn't freaking lava in there. It's 200 degrees, so it's pretty warm.
You run a G meter.
I do. I have one of those as well.
What on your PB, what was it pulling through there?
I have to look. High 1.6s, I think, which compared to your stuff, you're probably over 2, maybe for even 3. But
Well, the reason I asked, that's a great point to automatic car, stick car, it doesn't matter, but it kind of is your telltale for that track condition, like where you can hit it harder, where you can lighten the clutch up sooner, vice versa kind of thing. But that's kind of your window, at least in my limited experience, for like a tuner window for that.
so,
I,
okay,
I see.
so, yep. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I typically see anywhere from on a 114 pass, I'll see like 272, and I'll see anywhere for like 315 on the 104 105s.
Wow. Wow.
it's got to feel
What
good.
about, how about you, Rich? What are you seeing on your, do you have a G meter in your car?
I don't. I have one. I just got to put it in. But on the draggy, it shows like 1.8 is about the
Okay.
most I see. But my 60-foot suck too. So
Oh, I could look at the draggy. Let me look at that while we're talking.
but my
Just to
car's
see
so
what it
heavy.
says.
I'm also worried about hitting it so hard that it just destroys everything behind the. Because it makes about 1,000 foot-pounds of torque at 6 pounds of boost. So. And it's 4,050 pounds. So I'm trying to be careful. Like, I think if it runs like low 1.4s, high 1.3s, that gets me to my chassis cert anyways. And anything more than that just causes the bank account to take more of a hit because, you're shopping for transmission parts.
Yeah.
What bell housing did you buy? Are you on a Browell now or?
I am. It's a Brow, but it's still limited space. So like I still can't run a triple but I have an inspection window on top now. So now I can take the
Oh yeah.
hood off and do a clutch change leaning over the hood now instead of under the car.
Yeah, I've told a few people that if I was to build it again and you have access, doing it from the top sure makes it a whole lot easier. But I just
It
bring
saves
ramps.
a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I just bring ramps. QuickTime, the ramps with me, or what is Quick Race, or anyways, and so I could just drive up, and I've got a bump button underneath, so I can do it pretty quick. But what'd you learn, Bill?
Well, I learned a lot, but if
On the draggy, did you see the?
well, I feel kind of dumb. It shows the G's, but it doesn't tell you what it is, so you're just kind of estimating, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really close to the 2, but not quite. So I don't know if it's
Oh, yeah.
does
So
it
you're
tell you
somewhere
somewhere?
between 1.8 and 2? You're right
Yeah.
up there too.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious. So like, if the track's really good, and like you're just adding more and more boost at the hit, the alternative is to also increase launch RPM. That kind of does the same, right? So I mean, at more RPM, you're making more horsepower, and it's going to hit the clutch harder, and you get more counterweight. So if it's going to stick, you could see a gain there as well, increasing RPM and or adding boost at the lower RPM, right? Kind of the same.
Yeah, essentially all of them. Every car reacts a little bit different. Even a handful of cars that I've helped with and played around with and learned from. But typically, what I see, if you add more bass, it'll get the car moving faster, or if you add more RPM, it'll get it moving faster, more than adding just boost. So I typically leave the boost. I've got kind of my, call it my married pair. So I've got my RPM and my boost, my low, my medium, my high, and I don't deviate from that. And then my boost ramp will just get more and less aggressive. I never touch my timing retard. I just leave it the same. I got tired of chasing that stuff because I would notice if I would try to, be more aggressive removing timing, it would just make the turbos spool faster and, fighting that stuff for a little while. So I just set it and forget it. I change everything via RPM, the clutch, shock settings, and the boost ramp.
So Josh, do you have a timing retard in there that you just leave now?
I do. About
Yeah.
2 tenths, and I have to pull about 7 degrees, and that just keeps it from running away early on. And then I'm back all in by 0.8 seconds.
Oh yeah, so it's pretty similar. Like I started playing with that too because I was doing the same. I was chasing launch RPM, which would modify the boost, and then as soon as I like at about 0.25 now, I pull like 13 degrees. But I run probably quite a bit more with my old Pontiac heads. Like,
Yeah.
I'm running like 26, 27 degrees of timing. So pulling it down to 13 at 0.25 and then basically ramping it back in has made me way more consistent than I was before. Because if I didn't have any timing pull in, it would, it seemed to knock the tires off around 1 second every time. But how do you have a range that you like to have the clutch lock up, like 0.8 of a second? The clutch is locked up, or is it quite a bit faster for you?
It's actually 0.8 is fast for me. If I go any full lockup before that, I seem to blow the tire off. Now, when I first got the car working, I had some like 120, 60 foots, and we were kind of getting down. Like 0.7, 0.75 was okay. But rolling the power in and the clutch coming in at the same time, it's just a recipe to blow the tire off for me. So I'm more of anywhere from 1 to 1.2 seconds. Is kind of what I shoot for the clutch.
It was funny. I was talking to Bill through the slipper clutch stuff a bit, and he's like, the line's really flat, and I'm like, is it pulling really hard when the line's flat? It's okay. Like that's actually not a problem. I mean, the clutch is doing its job. It's like a converter. And to your point, if the G meter is showing that it's pulling hard there, that's not a problem. Things are actually working pretty good.
Yeah.
So if the clutch is locking up sooner than you like, what do you do to lengthen it? Is it reduce the base pressure? Because you can't really change counterweight too much, or you'll drive through it in fourth gear.
Typically, on my car, I've done it enough times now. I actually set up an AM 12 position switch. So like each switch is 100 RPM, and I just read the track myself last minute, watched a couple cars before me while we're, getting dressed and stuff. But for me, like 100 RPM reduced lead can add anywhere from almost zero point 0.1 seconds, out the back, sometimes changing the lockup. So you still get the same counterweight out the back, but it just softens up the initial hit, kind of thing. So, but, for example, if 100 RPM on my car is a sweet spot and it works, it takes 300 on somebody else's car to get the same effect. So I can't tell you, a perfect recipe, kind of thing, but easy, math talk, like I said, about 100 RPM is about a tenth, change in mine. But the track's got to be
So
there.
yeah, so let's talk about the Holly just a little bit. So that 12 position switch changes the two-step RPM, but is it actually 12 different tunes? Is that what it is? It's just a different tune, or is it just changing the RPM?
So I've got the first 5 switches do just the RPM lead on RPM only, and then the other ones are RPM boost, and it changes the boost ramp a little bit on
Ah,
the other companies. So it's kind of a combination.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I probably need to look into that. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
well, and Ben has talked about it before. I don't know if it was on here or if it was on our Zoom call, but he talks about as crew chief. Yeah, he would have a switch, and he would just reach in based on track condition and make his little adjustment. And yeah, typically it was RPM. I don't know if it was 100, but yeah, with my Mega Squirt, I can adjust that from the tablet, so it's not quite as easy. But I remember on Miles of Mayhem, I watched Brent go before me and knock the tires off, and I just reached over and grabbed the second timing pole mark and like jacked it up, and I went right down the track, and it went 563, I think, or something. So yeah, that it is nice to have a feature like that. I have to see if I could do the same with the Mega Squirt, but yeah, that's pretty cool, especially
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
awesome.
pretty much a one-man show and you're by yourself, and you're watching people and everyone's coming to your window and telling you stuff too, and it's like some people you just ignore, and some people you're like, yeah, I might have to do something quick here to compensate,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
don't think I ever asked you at Streetcar Bragging Rights. You qualified number 1, which was awesome, and then number 16, and you just let them have it. What happened there, anyways?
So we had
Car
crashed,
wouldn't.
got the car together for that run, came back, and all we did was normal turnaround, checked everything out. I'd never fired the car back up. We were just ready. So now part of my checklist before we go up every time is fire the car up right there. But there was some weird gremlin that showed its face, and the car did not crank over. I was turning and turning and turning. I cycled the power. I had some random person that came up to me, like opened the door. I had them cycle the power in the back. Nothing. So, instead of just keep fighting, and I was very flustered, but I was like, hey, you know what? Like, it's a sign from above. It's not, today's not my day to go down the track. It's okay, So, my buddies that were there, my family, they were a little disappointed, but I was like, hey, it's fine. It is what it is. But I did refuse to let anybody take the hood off because I didn't want to know what was wrong with it. Because I was like, it's going to be something so stupid, it's going to piss me off. So I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy the burgers. Like they were cooking out. I was like, I want a beer, I want some burgers. I didn't sleep that whole time, so I was like, I'm over it. So ironically, I took it out of the trailer the next evening, and the car fired up and back out of the trailer. So that let me know right there that clearly I had some sort of electrical gremlin, maybe the drive back jarred something. So before I took the chassis back to top end to have a few little changes done, I ripped every single wire out of it, threw everything away. So I completely rewired everything in the last 2 weeks when we had everything this time. So
And you
and
rewired it yourself?
yeah, well, I wired it the first time myself, and it lasted a year, but I'm like, that's not good enough. And so this time I actually have several bulkheads spread out through the car. So like the wideband separate from the coils, separate from the cam and crank coming through the firewall.
Smart.
So that way
Smart.
I can troubleshoot end to end and then come to a pigtail sub harness right before the ECU now. So I refuse to have that problem again.
That's super smart. Do you have some kind of aviation or aerospace background? Because that's not something I think most normal people would do, is the bulkheads and stuff.
No, but my military experience, I infield in helicopters every night. So
Ah,
spent half my life in overseas flying in a helicopter. So yeah, I seen them. I was like, there's something to that mil spec stuff. So I've got the bulkheads everywhere.
it's awesome. Yeah, and those helicopters, they're maintenance hogs. I mean, they don't actually fly. You know that. They beat the air into submission.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Especially the Chinooks.
Oh, the shit hooks.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are something else. Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
Just the
Awesome.
physics.
What tire are you running? Are you running a pro bracket?
I do run a pro bracket. I've got a lot of people at Rockingham when I get a test in there. They're like, you could be so much faster on the pro radial. And maybe there is clearly truth to it because the fastest, all the LDR guys and, all those real fast cars, that's what they run. But I like the little bit of forgiveness of the pro bracket. If I miss my judgment call on a clutch and all that, maybe it's that little bit of cushion. And if I'm not mistaken, about everyone in the class kind of shifted to those.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I run. I know
Yeah,
Jonathan ran the ones Bill's running now because he couldn't get the other ones and was pretty happy with them. The DR9, who's yours? Is
yeah,
that
he
what the
ran those
FDR?
for that year. Yeah,
I think
and
it's a
he's back to
DR2.
he's he's back on a pro bracket. But yeah, I was actually with him in Florida in Gainesville that year. That's when FL2 got moved to Gainesville, and I was with him when he did that 661 pass. Yeah, that was awesome. On that tire too. I'm surprised we didn't get a sponsorship out of that.
Yeah, no
Man,
kidding.
those guys are stingy.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, no, that was an awesome event, with that. And he poured the kitchen sink to it, racing that little 4-car shootout for that.
Yeah.
So, educate me a little bit. What's the difference between the pro bracket radial, what you're running, and like I have a DR2, which I think is an old. They don't even make that anymore now. They have a DR3, correct?
I'm not sure on that manufacturers the different types, but essentially it's just the compound. So they and the sidewall is going to be a little bit different. So they're both still a radial.
Yeah.
I think one of them's like a R1 or R2 compound, and the other one's an X2 compound, something like that. One of them's a little bit softer and a little more forgiving. So, like example, on a pro bracket, a lot of cars can have some tire shake issues. So I just run more air pressure, and I've never had to worry about that. Like I typically go down the track anywhere from 19.5 to 20 psi, which is very different from you ask some other people, and they're 15.5 to 16. But I started off low. My car didn't like it. It wrinkled the tire. I'd slow down videos and watch it, and I would just up at half a psi until it didn't tire the stripe or wrinkle anymore, and that was my number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm at 19. I'm at 19 right now for mine. What about you, Rich? You're a little more because you're heavier, right?
I am. Like I was running 20, but these tracks down here that are not as good prepped, I think I was running like 18 cold at Miles of Mayhem. So by the time you do the burnout and stuff, they're probably 20. But if I was in Florida, I would probably start off 20 cold so that it would be like 22, 23 hot or something.
Okay.
But that's where you leave your shoes behind. And I got a question for you, Josh. I noticed that Rick Stinky on drag week, like he ran 5 days, ran 850 every pass. And I noticed that when he did his burnout, he always went through the staging beams and turned a little bit to the side and then drove through the sticky stuff. This is what I'm thinking he was doing. And then when he would back up into his same tracks. Did you do that?
So that's something we recently just started playing around with. The ideas. We were watching a lot of the Radio versus the World and a bunch of the actual no time racers and stuff, and some of those. And the traditional, I think a lot of us would just, you'd pick the spot, burn out, let out just before the start line, roll through, pick up the glue, back up, and you're there. But then one of the track guys that actually preps the track, he's like, well, now you got no glue in front of you. So he's like, burn out beside where you want to go, back out, and then shift over, and then you got all fresh glue in front of you. So that's I feel like that's a hybrid of what you were just describing they're kind of doing. So they're getting a little bit more, less bang for the buck. But I tried that at this little local race that I was just at yesterday, but there wasn't much, there. So it kind of wasted efforts, on that. But I don't know how realistic that would be like in our stick class because, just prep one time before. So like maybe if you're the first pair down, something like that would work. But by the time the first few cars go down, like at that point, you're just picking what's the best spot. So outside of that, I just try to pick the best spot.
So, Josh, I had another question. This was kind of along the lines of what you were saying before, but you said you have everything in by about 0.8 seconds. Are we talking about the boost ramp, timing, everything?
No, that was just the timing back in for that. So I've got everything in about 2 seconds.
So,
Yeah,
so you're
so my target dome is all in by 2 seconds, and there's about a 2/10 delay in boost. So about 2.2, I see everything. So I'm in the second gear, and all the boost comes in.
okay. And have you found if you put so if you're putting 35 pounds to it, how much are you seeing in first gear? Like what's the max you're seeing in first gear?
I'll pull it up and tell you.
Because that's something I've been creeping up on is how aggressive that boost ramp is, and it keeps sticking, so I'm getting more aggressive with it. But then when I break charge tubes, that doesn't help because half the boost is just. I'm trying to boost the whole atmosphere because we have no atmosphere here in Colorado, but that doesn't help me get down the track. So
that's fair. All right. Let's see.
And it is interesting what you said earlier, Josh, about not bringing everything in all at the same time because it just gets so aggressive that I know Kale has told me before, he's like, don't get carried away in first gear, like changing the boost. Like you can do that later. You'll probably be more consistent if your boost ramp isn't getting aggressive the same time your clutch is locking up and you're knocking tires off. But
yeah.
I think
so the 655 pass, when it was 37 out the back with the other heads, I had 35.7 at the gear shift. So
the 1-2.
right
Wow.
at the peak the 1-2. So the peak of first, it was 35.7.
oh my god, that's Josh. That's kind of aggressive. I don't know if you know that, but.
And are you using the same shifting strategy as Jonathan and stuff? You're running into a rev limit and knocking it down 1,200 RPM for a shift?
Yeah, I dropped down about 1,500. Every time I would tighten it up, it was hit or miss. Some passes I'd get a clean shift, and the next one it would just, the power was back in before I was in the next gear, and it just bang, 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 just bounced me out and I looked like a dummy. So I got tired of chasing the whatever fraction faster I can be with that. I just keep a bigger window.
Yeah, I keep mine at 1500 as well, and that's been my experience when I tighten it up. It's just I don't always get clean 2-3 or whatever it is. So
Yeah, I'm still using a shift cut knob, which I like, and now that I've trained myself to do it that way, I think if I tried to do the RPM cut, I'd probably screw it up because I have to take my hand off the shifter every time. I launch with my hands on the wheel, both hands on the wheel, and then when I want to shift, I reach down and grab the top of the shift handle, and it cuts for 0.12 of a second, and then I got half a second to quit pulling or pushing on it, or it'll cut again. So it bites me occasionally, but not very often.
yeah,
I can't do the two hands on the wheel. I have to have my hand on the shifter the whole time. It's the same way
yeah,
like how I used to street drive. And I think because the gears they come so fast, if you'll ever, I had one pretty good in-car video that very first time in Wisconsin, and I was like watching. I was like, "Holy shit!" You don't realize how fast the shifts come. Like in my brain, it's a lot slower than that. But you watch the reality of it, you're like, "Damn, it's pretty quick." It's not quite as smooth as Jonathan sipping a tea, shifting gears, and his
Oh man,
that
yeah,
fast pass. Yeah, he was just so calm and collected, kind of thing. But
yeah, yeah.
um, but I think I'm too paranoid about like money shifting and stuff. So like ever since I was a teenager, I've always shifted the same way. So like I pull and I open hand push third gear and I pull fourth kind of
yeah,
thing. So if I had to put my hand there, I wouldn't have that same trust in myself. I think.
yeah.
Same. Yeah,
I think it's just like you're doing it now. If you trained yourself, you'd probably be fine. And same with me. If I put a shift cut or an RPM cut in mine, I like the consistency of that, but I also like the ability to shift earlier if I'm feel
What's
like
great
if
on
something.
a wheelie or anything.
Yeah, yeah. My
yeah.
fat ass doesn't wheelie anymore.
Well, when you see
Now,
Fairline, yeah, when you see my taillights in front of you, you might short shift or something, right, Rich?
Yeah, if we're on a hill or something, I don't know where else I would see it. Definitely not at the track.
It hasn't happened for a long time, but we're gonna get back there. Just you wait.
now, when my feed cut off and I came back on, did you say you now have a PPG gear set?
I have two transmissions, because 3,000 miles from home sometimes. And so I have a G-force gear set with a 29 spline input shaft and the bigger tail shaft, the bigger yoke, because I was twisting everything on the front and everything on the back. But while G-force hadn't made the 29 spline yet, I was twisting the 26, and I had to do something, so I bought a PPG gear set. And of course, it had a 26 spline in it too. But since then, I've upgraded it to a 29 and the tail housing to a 29. But I struggled to get six gear, kept popping out on my PPG. You probably don't have six. You probably just first through fourth on yours, hey? Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I pretty much polished the garage floor pulling that transmission. I bet you I've had that transmission in and out of that thing 15 times just trying to tweak to get the thing to stay in sixth gear, because on long drives, I mean, you just need sixth gear. So it's good enough right now that I can cruise. If I get into it aggressively in sixth gear, it'll still pop out. We got one more mod we're gonna try, but it's a good backup transmission for me now,
So,
anyways.
because I don't have fifth and sixth, does it have engagement sliders similar to first, second, third, and fourth? I have no idea.
Unfortunately, it does. So my G-force, it uses stock gears, so you could change them. So I just changed from a point 0.5 to a 0.63 on the G-force one, but the PPG stuff, it's face plated first all the way to six. So it uses the same slider as 1, 2, and 2, 3. And well, you've probably seen them, so you know what they look like. But it's really weird. Um, they work fine. Those sliders work fine in the first four gears. I've never had any issue there. and I drove it all the way to Florida and back, but my 5.6 cluster was moving on the main shaft. So by the time I got home, it had destroyed the big thick thrust washer that I think is behind reverse, and so Tick has cut me a new groove in it, so I could put a C clip that holds the 5.6 cluster there. Of course, you wouldn't have that, but so I think I've solved that problem. But now I'm still struggling with it. But I'm close. I think we might even just take the 6 gear and the slider on the 6 gear side and cut more of an angle in so that it pulls it in and locks it in.
Did they mention anything to you about trying a sixth gear out of a sequential?
I'm using the slider out of the sequential, but not 6 gear. And I don't think
Yeah, the slider was what we were talking about. Yeah, so the slider engagement tooth is a touch longer because my first straight cut, we had that issue. It was popping out of second gear with minimal load. Um, and we found that to be kind of a good fix on that. We just put the synchronized, or not synchronized, but sequential sliders in it, and it had more bite, and that fixed that problem completely. But
yeah, and
yeah, I was curious if they had them.
yeah, it's actually thicker too, right? So it buries it deeper in when you're pushing on it. So that was the last iteration that Tick tried, and it was close. It was close to staying in, but it's still. And Josh, it would kick out of 6 gear so hard it would go right into fifth. That's a good time right
So,
there.
oh, so the very first time I realized I had that issue, similar issue, but mine was second gear. I got ready to do a burnout, and I put it in gear. I was at Darlington, and I rev it up, and I dumped the clutch, and it ripped my arm out so hard, like it like hurt my elbow. But then I looked like a dummy because it was like one of those no time race nights. So here I am looking like a dummy, just revving my engine up to 9,000 RPM, just sitting in the water box, not spinning.
Yeah, and when it wants to, like, when I first started, like, there was they tried putting in a stronger detent. You can't hold that thing in gear. If it wants to spit it out, yeah, like you said, it'll try to rip your arm off as you try to hold it in. But right now, it's I actually put another detent in. I put one in on the shift fork, where it goes on the shaft to try to help it. So, like I said, it's close. I'll definitely, if I go to sick week this year, I'll carry it as a backup, and it's faceplate and everything, so I can race with it too. And now that I have a 325 rear gear, the fifth gear is a .76, I think. So it's not horrible driving down the road, but I've got it's a big stroke. It's 4.375 stroke, and 521 cubes. So you really don't want to have to rev it up much more than you have to cruising down the road, or you have to stop and rob a bank to keep filling up with gas. But, but the G-Force one, the 29 spline's been working better. He cut me one with less splines on it this last time to see if it would be stronger and not twist. But are you running the 29 spline in yours too?
Both PPGs, 29 spline input and 31 rear with the big fat yoke on it.
Okay, yeah, same deal.
So you run that thicker yoke where you have to modify the tail housing for it?
Yeah.
Were you having issues twisting output yokes before that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd get about one hard hit, anything sub 1.0 anything, and it was done.
Yeah, I can't get the drive shaft off anymore.
Couldn't get it, and then like the next, and here was my trend. I would go really fast, i.e. qualifying, and I'd pull up for round one, and I'd spin and blow the tires off. And we're like, what the fuck happened? Look through the data, and like, damn, the suspension didn't work. What happened? Take the car out, and the yoke was stuck. Couldn't even get it out. It had twisted on it so bad. So it was ramming itself into the back of the yoke because of twists, kind of thing. So, yeah, I'd get about one good hit in, and they were done. And I even had like the nice Mark Williams, all of those, because Jonathan was like, hey, I went to that, and it worked straight. It didn't work for mine.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
I'm
just
sure
funny,
they're
Bill.
amazing.
uh, I
But
What I
knock
tell you,
on wood,
Bill.
this other one's doing good.
Yeah, you're
yeah
not twisting the big one at all.
Knock on wood, no. And I mean, my very first off the trailer with the whole new chassis at Rockingham went a 105, kind of thing. And then we had a couple other slower hits and stuff, so it's all back, where it was. And I just took the transmission and clutch apart earlier this evening and put it all back together, and yeah, all that went in like butter. So I'd say
Yeah,
it's doing pretty good.
yeah, I'm having the same experience. I'm not twisting mine anymore either. So I was just telling Bill about that. Like, well, you might want to upgrade. And he's like, well, Jonathan said he didn't have a problem with the Mark Williams, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure, like Nick, for sure, was twisting the Mark Williams ones too.
yeah,
But
because I
the
just
thicker
had to
one,
replace. I had to replace the drive shaft. I chose to replace the slip yoke and the yoke on the rear end, and it's all Mark Williams now, and it's so smooth. But I may have to pull that drive shaft and just see maybe that last lick at the track.
It's worth it's worth every time you come home, check and see if it's getting stiffer or anything. And like I would put a small piece of like steel welding wire in it, and that's when I could start to see the initial signs of it. But
Uh,
like heck, even if we had made round one of that last race at Rockingham that he was talking about, we probably would have spun because when I took the car apart, I could not get it out. I had to beat the shit out of it with a orange mallet to get it
oh
out.
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sucks.
Well, and
All
like you
right. Yeah.
can't be doing any of the suspension. Like can't do anything any good, right? Like you
No, well,
lost that one.
that's why I started spinning because it locks it up. It can't go
Yeah,
anywhere. It starts to separate and it's hitting a wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
How much separation are you seeing?
8.5 inches.
Oh, like
Yeah.
do you buy like surplus Baja buggy parts or what?
No, no. So my last year I was about 7 inches separation, and then I changed shocks. I wanted a progressive shock. Jonathan switched to them, and they were having good results. So they made me a set, and I love them because what was happening is the only change from when I went to 667 pass and FL2K to the Rockingham 655 was the shock change in a wicker bill. That was it.
Hmm.
And the difference was I had traction in fourth gear. So I went from 214 to 218 with traction on the same tune up.
And whose shock are you running?
Uh, it's called ProTech.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, um, yeah, they've been great, to me. Jonathan's run them as well. But yeah, they're ProTech shocks. It's a 9-inch stroke shock. I use 8 1/4 for the most part of them. But I only see it topped out in like the peak of second gear, and then like I'm almost at ride height now out the back of the track in fourth gear
Because of the wicker bill.
Nice.
because of the wicker and the digressive of the shock. So
Yeah.
so it comes up, and then the compression's progressive, so it loosens up as it goes down the track, and it lets it settle
Hmm.
back down.
That's so cool. The fact that at 214 miles an hour you're spinning the tires is crazy to think about, hey? Like and
It's
that's
sketchy. It's sketchy, and like I never really realized it till you look at the data and then you see the shot still. How Jonathan's car is kind of iconic. Just
yep.
plowing all the way down the track. Um, but you look at the drive shaft curve and it's just going, and I run a simple traction control, just front wheel versus rear wheel, and you can see I was pulling up to like 6 7 degrees at a time, and pretty much all of fourth gear just catching that tire. It'd get a little rotation, it would catch it, pull it back under control. So,
Yeah,
so the
that's pretty
shock
Do
and
sketchy.
you
the whipper.
so do you run? You just mentioned you use front wheel speed versus rear wheel speed. Do you run a Davis program as well, or is it just strictly an advanced table?
So I use the advanced table, but I also use the Holly traction control um, built in, and then I use a couple more advanced tables that it breaks it down into zones, very similar to a Davis, it'll never react as well as the Davis because they have so many more break points to really
Mm-hmm.
refine everything, and it's actually faster reacting. But my car, I'm not ever pushing the ragged edge like some of these guys, so I don't need all of that. So I've made do with the Holly, the wheel speed, and that, and it works pretty good for me.
And is the Holly? I don't have. It's an upgrade. You pay for that to activate that table or
You do, yeah, yeah. You
tab or
just
whatever it's called.
copy and paste, and then it's activated. Um, and I've had the same ECU, so I don't know. I think I'd read one time that if you change the ECUs, you'd have to buy it again. If that's true, that sucks, but I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know
Well,
either. Crazy.
we've been going at this for like an hour and 40 minutes, and Josh has got a baby there. It must be like 9:40 or something. Guess baby's fast
Yeah.
asleep now, eh?
Well,
Well, my wife knew we were doing this, so I told her that whenever we finished up, I will help her with the whole shower routine and all that. And then she's like, I just had to promise her to watch a TV show with her. So I'm
okay.
good still right now.
Well,
So,
let's jump into the TKO questions, and then we'll let you get to your wife.
all right, she'll love that.
All right. You want to start it off, Rich?
Why don't you start it off? I got to go find all the questions here. It's been too
Okay.
long.
All right. Okay, Josh. So, what is the first car? This is TKO round first gear. What's the first car you've owned or modified?
The very first car I owned was a 1985 V6 Camaro. That's what I drove to school. It was like three different colors. It was the epitome of poopy. Um, I worked uh, all summer and then had a job during high school, worked all during the school year, and bought from my dad's coworker. He had a 1996 Super Sport Camaro that was garage kept. I bought that from him. It was a personal loan from that guy, so I paid him payments on it. And that was the first car that I actually started modifying and stuff. So I thought I was the shit back then running. I think I went like an 862 in the 8 at like 86 miles an hour.
Woo! Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Did you find it, Rich?
Yep.
All right.
TKO. Did you ever run a TKO or anything, Josh?
No, I have not. Everything I've
You're
ever owned
lucky.
has been a T56 or a 6060.
It's
Nice.
good because yeah, they make good aluminum piles. Is all they make. I only own about 5 of them, but yeah, you've talked a lot about this, so this would be interesting. So, what, in your opinion, has been the biggest technology change to move this sport forward?
I would say ECU capability. So the from the processes and all the stuff is, you know, that alone is like increased everything. So like not only can we push the envelope faster, but like the more data collection we have, the safer we're able to be. Like I think that's the sole reason we've, well, it's twofold. ECUs are a big part of it, but then also the equipment and the machining.
Yeah.
So for all the parts, the tolerances get better. There's less break in. All those things. So it's a twofold question, but I'm gonna still stick with ECUs. I
Yeah,
think
I think
Awesome.
the progression of that's the biggest thing.
yeah, I think about like shock data and knocking the tire off at 1 second into your run, and you're chasing your tail, and then you get shock data and you realize your shock's topping out at 1 second, and knocking the tire off. It's like, oh, well, maybe I should play with that a little bit rather than everything else.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, the fact that people used to do this without it, like it blows my mind. If I didn't have the data that I have, like I don't think I'd be anywhere close to where I'm at today. So
Yeah. Man. All right. So we'll palm shift it into third gear.
there you go.
If you could spend one day with someone, anyone, alive or dead, who would it be and what would you do?
If I could have it back, I'd love to spend the day with my grandfather. Um, my grandpa was real big into cars, automotives. I always had like a nice Mustang, some kind of convertible, something, sort of thing. But I never. He passed away before I ever got into cars like at this level, and I could only imagine the enthusiasm that he would have to be able to like witness, where we as an industry have come today, and then even just myself, what we've been doing. I think it'd be really cool just to share a weekend, share the day with him, with that.
Oh, he would probably love
That's
that
awesome.
too. He's probably sitting
Yeah,
in
that's
that
awesome.
passenger. Well, you don't have a seat, but he's probably riding right along with you, smiling. All right, we're going to pull hard. I've just let go of the steering wheel again and reached down and grabbed fourth. What influences you to build your cars?
Um, I think it's just the drive to be better at something. I just I don't care about win or lose. I just want to beat myself every time, like in every way. So like that's why I wanted to learn from the motor to the wiring, just the tuning, like everything. Like that drives me just to beat myself, every time. So that's my drive is that alone.
Love that answer.
That's awesome. All right, we're gonna slide it into the first overdrive, fifth gear. What, in your opinion, is the secret to stick shift racing?
Well, we've kind of talked about it all night in different ways, but to sum that up into one word, data. The data is the secret, in my opinion. If you look at any professional team stuff that Ben talked about, because he shared from that professional kind of, level, like that is everything. I try to gather the data on, every weather, the track condition, what changed. I monitor everything and, put it together in a spreadsheet. And like, it's to the point now, like I export my spreadsheets into a CSV file and upload them and populate the graphs on top of that. I update like the weather tune in there, and it auto populates. Hey, change your fuel by this much, take this much timing out, or add this much timing, kind of thing back, and then I copy and paste it back in the next tune, sort of thing.
Wow,
So,
wow, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, that is awesome, and that your answer makes total sense after this podcast. And it's interesting, that's what I really love about having all these different people on here. Uh, like that, Nick was very very similar, and then Chad was like almost a little bit more like me. I don't have any spreadsheets, but he just kind of sticks it in his head and makes some choices. Now I totally agree. Be way more successful to have it data specific, but anyways, second overdrive T56 Magnum. Yes, what would we do without it? Of course, never mind sixth gear, but I need sixth gear for sure. What advice would you give to somebody getting into this sport?
stick shift related only, or just racing in general.
Stick shift.
Stick shift, be humble. If you're not, make you humble. It don't matter. You can be think you're the best of the best or whatnot, but it'll surprise you. So listen when it's time to listen. Ask the right questions. But yeah, ultimately just be humble and don't come out no matter how much money you spend and think you're going to be the man, because this shit's not easy. We all see the breakage, and the thrashing and all that. You were talking about Nick, myself, a bunch of other people. Like, if you want to be successful in stick racing, you got to be determined and put the work in.
Yeah, yeah. This ain't easy,
That's a good point.
especially
No.
at your level, and even at our level for the drag and drive stuff. I mean, you gotta be committed. Well, probably committed in more ways than one.
Committed. You should be committed.
Yeah.
You should be
We
committed.
should be committed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, well, Josh, I really appreciate you coming on here.
And maybe
Let me, yeah.
before you close out, you want to give some shout out to your sponsors that have been helping you, Josh?
Absolutely. Start off Bullseye Turbos, building on them, not only, from a partnership, helping with the car, but that was our first real sponsor, and that kind of opened the doors for other stuff. So the turbos, been amazing for us. TCAM doing all of our machine work, TIC Performance and PPG gear sets for the transmissions and all that. Y'all spoke on them before too. Can't do any of this without something to hold together. I've think I blew up 2 transmissions with the stock cases, literally like blew the sides out of them, 2 in a row. So thankful for those. Maxima Oil came on board, and that's been nice. Talking about how much I keep changing everything and replacing my oil and all that, just kind of preventative maintenance. So they gave us a full sponsorship on all of our fluids, so all the rear end changes we were talking about and all that stuff. You know, they cover all of it to the trans. I use the same fluid in the transmission as well. JB clutches, Protect shocks. They've been huge. Local buddy here, LR Works, who's helped me on a lot of stuff on the side, last minute stuff we don't finish. And then ultimately, you know, one of the biggest things is Top End Performance. You know, Jason Harvey and them down there at Top End down in Georgia, Chattanooga area, doing all the chassis work. Car wouldn't be what it is today, you know, without them. So, you know, got to give them probably one of the biggest shout outs, you know, how much they've been doing for the stick shift world and trying to progress, you know, with everybody making the changes. So, and then also thank you guys just for the opportunity. You know, I watch you guys show all the podcasts with all the other guys on it all the time. So it's pretty humbling, you know, when you guys reached out, you know, for this. So it's pretty cool. I always feel like I'll probably look stupid talking, watching myself, but I still appreciate it either way.
Oh, you've been fantastic.
Yeah, we appreciate having you on here. I'm going to have to listen
yeah.
to this one a couple of times because
Yeah.
you've had some huge knowledge bombs on there, that's for sure.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time, especially new baby and all, and
Yeah.
on a Sunday night. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I appreciate it. And yeah, I told my wife that I was doing this and I'll get back up and make it up to her. She's been a huge sport and like all of this. I guess ultimately what we're doing, I got to thank my wife for putting up with me the last 2.5 weeks and more than that, you know, too, down here in the shop, thrashing every night, you know, and this stuff. So I got to give a huge shout out for that understanding. So
Yes.
Yeah, she seemed
Yes.
she seemed fully supportive and fantastic at Streetcar Bragging Rights there. She was all smiles and having a great time, so that was pretty cool.
yeah, no, that's
Nice.
awesome. But yeah,
All right,
I appreciate
Josh.
you guys. And congrats on
Yes.
your PB.
Yeah, thanks. We gotta creep that up a little bit more, but we'll get there. But yeah, so we'll wrap this up. So you should be able to find Clutch Burners on most all the podcast platforms, and we'd love to see you guys wearing Clutch Burners t-shirts. So head over to stickracing.com and grab a Stick Shift Nation shirt, hat, or sticker, or a Clutch Burners t-shirt. So
Okay.
with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Awesome.
man. Thank y'all. Have a
Good
good night.
night.
See you guys.
We're out.
All right.